I'm going to take a portion of my speaking today and I'm going to do some basic training. Now, some of this training will seem very basic because most of us have been actually past this level. If I'm talking about things you already know, just take notes because these are important things that you need to be communicating to your new people as they're getting involved in the business. Basic, simple, but I'm telling you, it's important. There's a saying that I learned a long time ago, and the very first time I heard it, it didn't make sense to me, but after I thought about it and somebody explained it to me, it started to make sense. And it was said, once taught, twice learned. I heard this a long time ago. Once taught, twice learned. And what that really means is we as leaders, we really don't internalize and learn information until we have the ability to go out and effectively teach it. Now, the reason why I use the word effectively ahead of teach is because a lot of people can teach, but an effective teacher gets results from their words. That means you want to be able to sit down with somebody and explain to them basic things about getting started, and you want that person that you're talking to walk away and get results from your teaching. Does that make sense? So once taught, twice learned. So this stuff I'm going to go into is stuff that you need to be talking about every day to your new people, because sometimes we reach such a high level of success, we start talking over people's heads and we forget where they are in the business and they're just getting started. How many remember when you just got started? That first hour, that first 24 hours, that first 48 hours, that first week. Do you remember how you felt? The enthusiasm, the excitement, the dreaming. I mean, for the first time, you didn't want to, you hesitated, but at the same time, you felt it. I mean, think about what a new person's going through. We got to get them on the right track right away so that they can have the same success that you've had and they can experience some of the levels that you've experienced so they can go out and teach people the right way as well. So I want to talk to you about mindset. Now, mindset is something that, in my opinion, is one of the most important things that you need to talk to somebody about when they're getting started. Because when somebody makes the transition of being an employee and starting their own business, you have to think different. Because when you're an employee, usually you're told what to do, and if you don't perform, you could lose your job. So a lot of people are a little bit different when they're working for someone opposed to working for themselves. And I think it's important that as leaders and as teachers, you want to explain this to a new person when they're first getting started. You know, let them know that they have to develop the right mental attitude. It's a must. And what is developing the right mental attitude? Okay, developing the right mental attitude means they have to think positive, they have to be positive, but they also have to take responsibility in knowing that they're creating a business that they own. That ultimately where they end up will be based on what they put into the business. And you need to tell everybody that. When you're sitting down with a new person, you tell them, look, your success ultimately in this business is going to be based on what you put in. There's no guarantee that you're going to be financially independent. The only guarantee is if you do nothing, you receive nothing. Is that true or false? That's the only guarantee. So you want to put that in somebody's brain right away. They have to have the right mental attitude about what they're doing, and also let them know what to expect. Tell them about the emotional roller coaster that one experiences when they first get involved in a business like this. That sometimes the circumstances outside them will affect them emotionally. For example, I'm sure that everyone in this room has experienced at one time or another, you might have invited somebody to a presentation and they didn't show. Has that ever happened to anybody? Now, naturally, if you do that, it makes you start to feel a little bit down. Okay? Now, here's the problem. When somebody's new and they start to feel down, they let self-talk kick in. And self-talk is, they'll say things like, well, maybe this doesn't work. You know, maybe I am not really meant to do something like this. So tell someone in the beginning that don't let the self-talk kick you out of the business. Don't let the rejections or the downside make you emotionally down. You got to stay steady. You got to stay up. Because the very next day, that same person who didn't show up, they might call you on the phone And they might say, you know what? I can't believe it. You know, I was looking for the meeting. You gave me the wrong address. I'm so excited. I want to hear about this business. When can I get to the next meeting? And all of a sudden, that new person, instead of feeling down, they start to feel up. Right? But that's the business. It's always a series of feeling up and down, up and down. But let me tell you something. There's nobody in this room that is inhuman. In other words, we all are going to feel the pain of rejection. We're all going to feel the pain of setback. But let me tell you the difference between someone who's been in the business for a long time opposed to someone who's brand new. Somebody who's brand new, when they feel the pain of a setback, okay, that pain could last a week. That pain could last a month. And for some people, that pain could last a lifetime. In their mind, they think that they can never be successful in anything they do. But what you've got to manage is how long that pain sets with you. For example, as you over time will realize that with every setback, there's something that's going to happen tomorrow that's going to be a huge buildup. It's going to be a huge advance forward, and that's going to make you feel good. So when you have a setback, you want to try to manage the feeling of that time, and you want to reduce it. Where it might make you feel bad for a week, you know what? Over time, try to make you feel bad for maybe 3 days. You know, and if it only feels bad for 3 days, over a period of time, try to manage it down to 1 day. You know, all of a sudden, maybe you'll get that feeling where you're going to get it down to maybe 5 hours, 4 hours, 3 hours, 1 hour. And you'll finally get to a point when something bad happens, you're going to go like this. You're going to just think about it for a second. You look down and you go, oh, okay, I'm over it. Let's move on. Okay? And that's really what it's all about. I say this to you because we all experience this. Every one of us will experience this, but you've got to just take control over it and realize that, you know, long term, you're going to look back and realize we all had ups and downs. But there's only winners and there's losers. And you're either making a decision to win or you're making a decision to lose. That's all there is to it. That's all there is to it. And right now, when we started this company, failure was never an option for us. Why should failure be an option for you? Never. So make sure you tell people, have long-term thinking. Think about where you want to be a year from now. Think about where you want to be 2 years from now. Think about where you want to be 5 years from now. You know why? Long-term thinking gives you long-term motivation. If you're not thinking about where you want to be 5 years from now, then the only thing to look at is the problem of the moment. And there's no problem of the moment that can be greater than where you want to be long-term. Do you guys understand that? Can you guys teach that? Can you guys be that? Okay. Also, be coachable. How many of you realize that network marketing is a business that you're not going to learn in college? Okay? Network marketing is a unique business. And there's only a couple ways you can learn this business, but one way is getting involved in a company and being fortunate enough to sit in a room like this or sit across the kitchen table with your sponsor who has experience or with your sponsor's upline who may have experience. Whenever you get a chance to be in front of someone who's a little further ahead than you, take the time to learn. Take the time to learn. Ask questions, because in the beginning, the business is awkward. We're doing things that we're not used to. But over a period of time, what feels awkward will become natural, and the things that were hard to do in the beginning will become second nature to you. But what makes a person successful is their willingness to be coachable. There are so many people that get to a point where they think they get it. They think they've figured it out. And that's a dangerous place to be. Because when you think you've figured it out, your mind is no longer open to learning. And if you stop learning, you stop growing. And in this business, you can never learn enough. Because I'm going to tell you a secret about knowledge. You want to hear it? The more you know, the more you should realize you don't know. That's the scary thing about knowledge. The more you know, the more you realize that you don't know. And the fact is, you're never going to have all the answers. You're never going to have all the information. It's a process of growing. So make sure you're always coachable, you're always listening, you're always learning, you're always analyzing, because you want to become better. That's the goal here. Now let me talk about another simple topic called the list. Now, the reason why you want to have someone make a list when they get involved in this business is for a couple of reasons. Now, first of all, the list has always been one of the most powerful tools that anyone would ever have in network marketing. But it's also one of the most overlooked tools. But ultimately, your list is your greatest resource for building a business. Because your list is basically all the names of people that you're going to talk to about either becoming a customer or you're going to talk to these people about becoming a representative. Ultimately, that's your resource. Now, there's two reasons why you want to make a list. Your list will become your point of reference for contacting people. It's a goal sheet, in a sense. And number two, as fast as you think of someone, you will forget them. I'll give you an example. How many of you have ever went to a meeting before in your local area? And as you walked in the meeting room, you sat down, you looked 3 rows back, you noticed there was somebody sitting in there that you thought of, but you forgot to call them, and somebody else invited them to the meeting. Has that ever happened to anybody? Okay. Now let me tell you something. Even though you're happy to see your friend, you may not want to admit it, the very next thing you do is you start looking at who brought them, wondering if they're in your downline or not. Okay? And all of a sudden you realize that they're not in your downline. And after the meeting, you walk up and say, wow, I had you on my list. I was going to call you. And then they look at you, and you know what they say? You should have. Because you know what? I love this opportunity, and I'm going all the way. Now, let me tell you something that's even scarier than that. Imagine over a period of time, maybe 2 or 3 months, you didn't see your friend anymore. They didn't show up to that meeting for whatever reason. And you show up to an ACN convention, you're sitting in the 4th row, and all of a sudden Greg Provenzano, the president of ACN, starts introducing the newest RVP in the company. The person that, beyond all people, performed to the highest expectation, broke records, and is someone that this company is going to look at as the future of ACN. And they invite to the stage your friend. Now, how many of you at that moment in time are really killing yourself because you forgot to call that person, because you forgot to write that name down? Okay? Now, you laugh at it, but it could happen. What's even scarier, can you imagine if that person was at the podium and they're giving this great story? They're giving their testimonial. It's so inspirational that you look to the right and left and everybody's crying, everybody. But you realize that you're crying too, but for an entirely different reason. So make sure you tell people, write them on paper, because if you don't write them on paper, you forget them. Guess what? You may never remember them again, and somebody else might talk to them. So always share that with somebody. Also, explain the difference between warm market and cold market. Warm market is people we know. Cold market is people that we don't know. Networking has always been most effective with warm market. Why? Because with warm market, you have trust and you have rapport with people you know. They don't have to be your best friend, but you have trust and rapport. If somebody knows your face and they've seen you before, there's an element of trust and rapport with you over a complete stranger. So everything I talk about from this point on is just warm market. So let me give you some examples of warm market. And I bet you some of you will actually think of people as I say this. If you start thinking of warm market, think of your friends. Now, friends can be a category of your close friends. They could be your friends of friends that know you. They could be acquaintances. They could be people that you just walk by at the office. They could be people that you walk by at the local fitness center that every time you see them, you just nod your head, but you don't really know them by name. They could be acquaintances, but you know these people. Think of your family. I mean, when you think of your family alone, you've got immediate family members like your brothers, your sisters, your parents. Then you've got extended family, which could be your cousins, your aunts, your uncles. You know, if you're married, it could be your wife or husband's family. But think about your extended family as well. Also, coworkers. It could be people you work with, people you manage, or people that manage you, people you go to church with, people you went to school with. Whether it was high school or college, you know, a lot of times you keep in contact with these people, or even if you don't, think about who you could call that you haven't talked to in a long time that might be interested in taking advantage of an opportunity. People that you're part of organizations, clubs, charities, people you do business with. When I think of people you do business with, it could be a doctor, it could be a lawyer, it could be your dry cleaner, it could be a local print shop, it could be anybody. The average person, if you really sat down with them, could make a list of 100 names or more. Do you guys agree with that? Now, if you think about it, how many legs do you really need to become an RVP? Do you think if you had a list of 100 names, at some point you could find 4 people that could start a line? Yes. So don't think that every person on your list has to become a rep. But if somebody doesn't make a list, then the very next day they don't have anybody to call. I want somebody thinking about making phone calls every single day, and the only way they're going to make phone calls every day is if they got a list to look at. Now make sure you also teach when compiling a list, you always share with people not to prejudge. List everyone you know. Why? Because those you think will do the business won't. Those you think won't do the business will. Those you think can do the business can't. And those you think can't do the business can. Every time you try to guess, you're usually wrong. Now, even though we tell you not to prejudge, everyone still prejudges. Oh, I think this person will do it. You know, I'd call Mary, but, you know, I don't think Mary would be interested in something like this. I'll tell you what I've experienced over time. Pick the 5 people that you think won't do it and call them first. Because you'll be surprised. They'll be the ones that jump on board. Okay? Now, once you start talking to people, or once you start compiling your list, you're going to find that there's 3 types of people that will appear on your list. And you almost want to look at it this way because you want to approach people the right way. Number 1, there's people you look up to, or there's people that think you should look up to them, either or. There's people that are your peers, and then there's people who look up to you. Now let's be honest here. Who do you think on that category is the easiest person to talk to? And the answer is people that look up to you, because usually they respect you, and you know they probably want to work with you, they probably want to hang out with you. And if you said, look, I found an opportunity, I'm pretty excited about it, you got to come down and take a look at it, I need you by my house tonight, just be there. Usually if they fall into that category, they're going to say, I'll be there. They don't even ask you questions. Why? Because they look up to you. They want to be a part of something you're doing. The second easiest group on this list, believe it or not, is not your peers. The second easiest will be the people that you look up to, or the people that think you should look up to them. And the reason why I say that is because it's okay to build their ego up a little bit when you're approaching these people. You might say something like this: look, I found something I'm really excited about. I mean, really excited about. But I want to get your opinion on it. Because, you know, you're the first person I thought of when I saw this. And you know why? Because if anyone knows business, it would be you. But I want you to come by to look at it for 2 reasons. 1, to give me your opinion. But number 2, I think this is something you might be interested in. But either way, will you do me a favor and honor me by just showing up and looking at it tonight at my house? How many of you could do that? Now, you'll be shocked. Somebody that you say that to will look up to you, and how can they be, like, condescending after that? I mean, you just built them up. They go, well, yeah, you know, you're right about, I am pretty good at business. Yeah, I'll come by and give you my opinion, and yeah, maybe I'll get involved. You know, I'll come by and take a look at it. But usually, you build them up a little bit. Now, the hardest group of people to talk to, typically for a new person, is their peers. It's the people that they're with every single day. It's the people that, you know, that they'll look at each other like equals, and maybe they don't want to get ahead of each other. But make sure that people are always talking to people the right way. But also share with people, there's more than just recruiting scripts. They also have to know what to expect when they're talking to people. That when they're making their list, they're going to be also contacting their list, and there's going to be 3 types of people that they're going to contact. 3 types of responses: red apples, green apples, and rotten apples. Now, believe it or not, something as simple as this explanation helps a lot of people understand really how people react. Red apples are people that say yes, they're excited, and they see the business the same way you saw the business. Green apples are people that have a lot of questions. They're on the fence. Maybe you need to get them some information before they make a decision. And rotten apples are people that usually say no. Now, I want to make it clear to you that whenever you say someone's a rotten apple, you know, don't make them feel like their friend is rotten. It's a rotten response, but they're not a rotten person. Does that make sense? Because sometimes rotten apples will be their best friends. Sometimes rotten apples will be even their spouse. Is it possible? Okay, so we got to let them know that if they're a rotten apple, it's okay. It's just an opinion. It's an opinion. But there's 2 types of rotten apples. There's a good rotten apple and a bad rotten apple. A good rotten apple says, no thanks. It's not for me. But they'll still encourage you to do it. Okay, the timing isn't right for them, but they'll encourage you. A bad rotten apple is someone that says no, but for some crazy reason they try to talk you out of the business. You know, they want to be more intelligent than you. They want to tell you all their opinions about telecommunications. They want to tell you that their brothers, aunts, uncles, sisters, cousin was in a deal like this and they didn't make any money. Okay? So a rotten apple sometimes could be negative, but at the same time a rotten apple could be positive. Here's the whole philosophy behind a rotten apple. It doesn't matter the position somebody takes. Everybody has a right to have their opinion. Do you guys agree with that? So make sure you explain that to a new person. Don't get affected if somebody's not interested. You move on. You want to spend 80% of your time with the red apples, developing them and building their business. You want to spend about 20% of your time with the green apples, getting them what they need to make a decision so you can sort them to red or rotten. And what percentage of time do you want to spend with rotten? 0. Now, I want to clarify what 0 means. 0% means ACN time, which means don't talk to ACN to your spouse anymore if they're not interested. If your friend at the office is negative and they don't want to get involved, then don't talk to him about it or her about it. You don't have to spend any time with ACN to that person. That's what 0% of time means. It doesn't mean go home and get a divorce. It doesn't mean tell your best friend who's been your best friend for 10 years they're no longer your friend because they didn't want to do this. Okay? All it means is if you're going to build ACN, you're going to be successful, where you spend your time ultimately will determine your success level. The problem with most people in network marketing is they spend all their time with the wrong people. That's why they don't get ahead. They spend all their time trying to convince people to see it when they didn't see it and they told them they didn't see it. How many of you in this room know for a fact that you've spent more time than you should have with some people when they clearly told you that they were not interested in doing a business? Who's done it? Come on, be honest. Okay? We've all done it. We've all done it. And that's what holds you back when you put your time in the wrong places. Put your time where it's going to be best served, and that's with red apples and green apples. That's it. If somebody's not interested, that's what sorting is all about. You sort. You know what selling is? Selling is convincing someone that says no and try to change a no and put it into a yes. That's selling. And in this business, you don't make money selling. You make money sorting. The people who make the most money sort the fastest, and that's a fact. Can you guys sort? Okay, I want to talk about consistently updating your list and expanding your warm market. And the reason why I say this is because a lot of people make a list one time. They got their list. It's over now. Okay? It's over. Okay, a list is designed for you to add names to and cross names off as you're going and talking to people. But you're always going to be building onto that list. It never goes away. But I want to talk to you about how to expand your warm market list. How do you expand your warm market list? Okay, number one, you got to realize this, that we are in the people business. So I want to give you a basic fact here. If you talk to a lot of people, you're going to make a lot of money. If you talk to less people, you'll make less money. If you talk to no people, you're going to make what? No money. So you have to be willing to talk to people. You have to be willing to get out there. Now let me give you a couple of reasons why you might want to expand your warm market list. Number one, you're brand new to an area and you don't know anybody. Number two, you think you've talked to everyone you know. As you can see, I put the word you think because nobody ever talks to everyone they know. But you think you've talked to everyone you know. Okay? Or you plan to move to another area because you want to open up a new market. Okay, these are good reasons to expand your warm market. Does that make sense? Now, I'm not talking about cold market. There's a difference here. I'm talking about expanding your warm market. The best way to expand your warm market, you want to ask yourself a question. Ask yourself, what do you like to do? That's the very first thing you should ask yourself. What do you like to do? Hobbies or just daily activities, things that you like to do every day. For example, some people like to work out. Some people like to play sports. Could be golf, could be something else. Some people like to go out to eat every day. Some people like to have fun, they're more social, they like to go out and dance. Some people love to just volunteer for charities, and they usually associate with other people that like to volunteer for charities. Some people like to go to art galleries or museums or plays. And some people just love to travel, period. You know, as soon as somebody gets a chance, they like to go to another city. But think about the things that you like to do. You know why? Because other people like what you like. You're not the only person that likes what you like. Usually what you're doing every day, if you do the things that you do every day and you enjoy the things you do every day, you're naturally going to meet a lot of people. It's natural because other people like to do what you do. Does that make sense, all you guys? Now, when expanding your warm market, I want to give you a little psychology here. When expanding your warm market, don't try to recruit every person that you meet right away. Because sometimes it could be a little bit of a turnoff, and the number one reason why is people don't buy from people they don't trust. And we already know that if you're a stranger, they don't trust you. Now, in some cases, don't get me wrong, in some cases you might not have a choice, because maybe in some cases you'll never see that person again, so you might want to give them your business card or get their business card and follow up. And I'm not talking about that right now. I'm just talking about just developing a warm market because you're new to an area, you're going to be involved in a lot of things. What you want to do first is focus on building relationships. Now, we used to do this because back when we first started ACN, Robert, Tony, and me, we were the ones responsible for opening up all the cities across the country. I mean, we did the first meeting for ACN just about in every state or city that we're doing business in today. So you want to make sure that you're building relationships, and once you've established a relationship with people, they'll start to open up. And let me explain what that means, what opening up means. Naturally, if you see somebody at the fitness center every day, just a casual nod of the head might actually turn into working out together, which might turn into having a protein shake together, which might turn into a conversation over a couple days. This might take 2 or 3 days, it might take a week, it might take a month, but who cares? Over that period of time, naturally through a conversation, when you're being positive and somebody's telling you a little bit about themselves, if you're always positive about what they're telling you, people start to open up. And I'll give you an example. If you ask somebody what they do for a living, because usually, believe it or not, that's the first question somebody will ask you, Or you might ask them, say, what do you do for a living? Or they might say, what do you do for a living? And then whatever they tell you, you always want to be positive and you want to build them up. You might say, they might tell you, well, yeah, I'm a waiter down at a restaurant bar down the street. You go, wow, excellent. I got to tell you what, one thing, you can make a lot of money doing that. Now, when you build them up, what's the very next thing they're going to say? They're going to look at you, they always get negative. They go, nah, believe me, I'm barely getting by. But here's what I see, a common mistake. A common mistake in network marketing is when somebody's opening up to you, instead of building them up, a lot of times you'll tear them down. Somebody will say, well, yeah, I'm a waiter down the street and I'm working at that restaurant that's kind of a bar/restaurant. You go, oh, really? You want me to show you how to make some real money? Now, be honest, how many times have you heard somebody say that, make somebody feel bad after they told you their career? Now, why would you do that? Because you know what they're going to say next? They're going to say, no, believe it or not, I'm making a lot of money, I'm happy. You put somebody into defense. Let them open up to you. And if they say to you, well, I'm not really making a lot of money, I'm not real happy, I'm looking for something new, then it opens up the recruiting door. So I'll tell you what. I don't want to talk about it right now because we're working out, but I've got something that I think you might be interested in. I know I've seen you for quite a while. I never talked to you. I never thought of talking to you about it, but who knows, you might be interested in. As long as you guys are doing this right, and as long as you guys are thinking about what somebody else thinks before you talk to them, before you approach them, you're going to be much better in this business than somebody that just looks at everyone like they got a dollar sign on their head. You don't have to look at everyone like they have a dollar sign. Treat people with respect. Show people respect. Make people feel better about themselves when you're in their presence than not. That's what leadership is all about. It's about making people feel good. And that's called the law of attraction. And you'll have a lot of people who will all just naturally want to be around you. And they'll start being curious about what you do. And they'll open up to you and they start talking to you. And that's what makes recruiting easy in this business. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is getting referrals. Getting warm market referrals is something that a lot of people in network marketing, a lot of people in ACN overlook. Getting referrals is powerful, and here's why. We're building in warm markets, but there's two types of warm markets. There's your warm market, and there's someone else's warm market. You'll never be limited in the warm market area. You will never run out of people to talk to. The most powerful question you can ask someone is who they know. When I was doing presentations on a regular basis, I used to get referrals from everybody. I even used to get referrals from people who were not interested in becoming a part of ACN. And what I used to say was this. If I walked up to somebody and I was sorting the room or sorting people, I'd say, does this look like something you'd be interested in? And if somebody looked at me and said, you know what, no, it's really not for me. I just got a promotion at work, and I'm really happy right now, but it's just not for me. I said, hey, no problem. I'd always make them feel good. I'd say, well, listen, I really thank you for coming down and taking a look at this. You're a good friend. Or if they were invited by somebody else, I'd say, well, listen, I'm sure Mary thanks you for coming down. It was very nice of you to come down and see the presentation. She's very serious about it. You're a real good friend, and we appreciate it. Thank you very much. It was very nice meeting you. Oh, by the way, I'll tell you what. Even though you're not interested and you're not going to do it, that's fine. Mary's really serious. Who do you know that you think would be good at something like this business? Who do you know that maybe isn't satisfied with their job? Who do you know that is more like an opportunist who would, if they saw this business, they would want to go to the top right away? Always get referrals. Never let somebody walk out the door without getting a referral. If you don't ask, you won't get. But the one thing I learned in network marketing is this, that you never run out of warm market to talk to. Why? Because there's your warm market and there's somebody else's warm market.